All right, Manitou Gold, as the name says, is a company focused on gold exploration. We own two projects, both in Ontario. First off, the Dryden project, located south of Dryden, Ontario, including the past-producing Ken West mine, is a project that we've optioned out to Dryden Gold. That's an $8 million option. We received the first million in shares and cash earlier this year, and we'll receive another $2 million, half cash, half stock, over the next 3 years as well. So again, just to compare that particular asset that we own 100%, with our market cap, we're trading at a valuation right now just under 10 million. So that size of that deal, barring any upside by Dryden Gold, is about equal to our current market cap. The project I'm going to spend more time discussing this morning is our Goudreau project, located north of Wawa, Ontario. It covers 366 square kilometers. We own it 100%, and it's really in a re-emerging gold belt. It's home to the sort of the crown jewel of Alamos Gold's operations with the Island Gold Mine. Argonaut Gold is developing currently the Magino open pit next door to us, and we're bookended on the other end by Barrick's past-producing Ranabi mine. In terms of the share cap structure, we've got 344 million shares issued and outstanding, about $1 million cash as of today, and that marketable securities being the Dryden Gold shares worth another $1 million. We have two important strategic owners, share owners, being Alamos Gold, our largest at 19.9%, O3 Mining, which is one of the Osisko group of companies, owns 9.9%. Each of those companies has a director on our board. So in the case of Alamos, it's their chief operating officer, and with O3, it's their VP finance. And we've enjoyed not only financial support, but technical support, as well as the direction we receive through the board positions through both companies. Just in terms of the Goudreau project timeline, it was about summer 2019. We'd largely completed the consolidation of our land assets. It took 9 different deals, all paid for with stock. At the time, we had no other capital really to do these transactions. And then so at the end of that year, having consolidated the land that we own now, we were able to bring in investments from our strategic shareholders. Donato Sfera, our VP Corporate Development, wrote a big check, so did I. So we all have a lot of skin in the game. That was the first time we really had any money to get started on developing our gold targets. Since that time, we've spent several $1 million on, I guess it's boring from a market perspective, but important geotechnical work. So we've done a massive amount of airborne and ground geophysics, soil geochemistry, a lot of structural interpretation. And now we're in a situation where we've outlined numerous gold targets that are significantly de-risked by that amount of geotechnical work that we've completed to date. Just in terms of the project location, we're within the Michipicoten Greenstone Belt. We basically occupy a commanding position in the eastern end of that belt. The far west end of the belt is dominated by West Dome with the Eagle River Mine and Mill and Mishi open pit operations. And then bookending our property you see in yellow on the map, again, Alamos and Argonaut on the west end and Barrick's Ranabi Mine on the east end. When we zoom in a little bit here, our 366 kilometer land package is outlined in yellow. It's totally contiguous with one small group of mining patents that is not contiguous. And it's worth noting just from a real estate proposal, Alamos came in, bought Richmont Mines for just under $1 billion Canadian. The only asset they really took out of that was the Island Gold Mine. Subsequent to that, they spent another $20 million US purchasing exploration lands up to our mutual property boundary now. So that $20 million was pure exploration upside for them, and we're pretty confident that just the real estate and the prospectivity value represents a massive premium to our current market value. It's important that hatched area, and outlined in bold, is a Goudreau-Lacache deformation zone. It's sort of historically been the prime focus for exploration and mining. It's seen well over 1 million meters of drilling completed, and that's resulted in well over 10 million ounces of gold being defined. Two styles of mineralization in the camp. One, these broad, lower grade, sort of 0.9 to 1 gram type gold deposits, such as being developed at the Magino pit, and then much higher grade lode gold setting at the Island Gold Mine. Alamos has had tremendous success extending that mineralization to the east with their aggressive drilling over the past several years. Below the Magino pit, also recent exploration by Argonaut has resulted in higher grade discoveries as well. That Goudreau-Lacache deformation zone is truncated by a fault, a series of faults at its east end, displaced to the north, and continues for 18 kilometers on our lands, known as the Baltimore Deformation Zone. That's really been the focus for us for the last couple of years. The Stover Gold Zone we drilled several holes into. It's been drilled now and confirmed across 250 meters of strike, as deep as 500 meters. And that's more akin to the Magino style mineralization. Very broad. Our typical intersections are 30 to 50 meters, running 0.9 grams to 1. Our last two step outs were 100 meters to depth, and then the 200 meters beyond that. So quite predictable. It's not our prime focus, though. We're really looking for these higher grade deposits. So we moved to the north, the Bald Eagle Gold Zone. There we intersected also many tens of meters of the 0.9 style mineralization, but we also have a vein set in there that runs about 17 grams per ton. That's had a very limited amount of drilling, so that's one of the areas we're definitely going to be focused on. But really where we put a lot of effort in the last 2 years is on the 10 kilometers that covers the western part of that Baltimore Deformation Zone, right up to that fault that cuts it off from the Goudreau-Lacache. So that 10 kilometers, this is what it looks like on the map. The colors you see are the magnetics from ground survey. And it's an interesting setting from an exploration perspective. 3 major granite bodies forming a triple point junction. These are, from a geological perspective, they're very encouraging with respect to focus for lode gold setting. And not only the triple point junction, but we have a series of east-northeast trending faults. These are very, very deep-seated faults. They've allowed ultramafic rocks to come up to surface. Those are defined in the sort of dark purple area, and it's those that we've recently had a little bit of success, not with respect to gold mineralization per se, but actually nickel intersections. And I'll spend a little bit of time discussing our gold targets as well as nickel targets that we've defined. So this is an area, we've sort of simplified the same area down, that 10 kilometers in the western part of the Baltimore Deformation Zone. Our gold targets are outlined in yellow, sort of the yellow ovals, and each of those, just for reference, is about 1 kilometer up to 2 kilometers. each with numerous well-defined gold targets in them, undrilled, 100% undrilled. You notice in the central part, there's a cluster of 16 drill holes on this plan map. Those were drilled in the first quarter into mid-April, basically this year, all testing gold. What we found in and around that series of faults, as I said, they're very deep-seated. This was a little bit too much in the core of an orogenic system. The deformation was completely intense, alteration, very, very intense, and we were sort of too much in the heart of the plumbing system. And that's why the targets you see defined in yellow now, the gold targets, they're on sort of low-angle splay structures, a little bit away from that main faulting and plumbing system. So one of those holes, again, targeting gold, we actually had a choice. How do we drill it? It was close to one of these ultramafic intrusions, and so we decided to set up the drill within the intrusion and drill for a shear zone we were targeting to the south. I'll just zoom in and show you what that looks like. So again, these ultramafic bodies, they're outlined, and you can see the magnetic intensity. They stick out, and they're very, very well defined by the magnetics. So the first intersection that we got of this ultramafics while testing for gold outside of the intrusion was 48 meters at 0.25% nickel. And it's also associated with about 100 ppm cobalt. So based on that intersection, it's not a high-grade thing, and it is possible that nickel would be not recoverable. And namely, if the situation is it's a fresh rock, unaltered, the nickel could be locked up in silicate minerals. So we did some science on it. We took several slices of the core, analyzed them microscopically, identified the nickel minerals as high-grade sulfides, including predominantly hazelwoodite, also nickel iron alloys, and close association with a lot of magnetite, and hence the ability for us to outline these drill targets and these ultramafic bodies as a whole using that magnetics survey. So we subsequently sent these slices of the drill core to be analyzed at the University of Western Ontario by microprobe, and we found that there was no detectable nickel in the silicate minerals. So that bodes very well for the potential extractability of nickel. So we're just currently, we've shipped a small subset of our drill core to Lakefield, where SGS is going to be doing flotation test work, and it basically established what it is that the ultimate recoverability could be. But based on the similarity we have with two peer deposits, being the Dumont deposit in Quebec, Canada Nickel's Crawford deposit near Timmins, these are very, very similar rock types, similar styles of alteration. In fact, the alteration that we see is a little bit more intense, so we're quite confident that we're going to get some recoveries that are at least comparable. So after confirming that this nickel is likely to be recoverable, we went back in, drilled 3 more holes across just 2 of these intrusions. We have many. I'll show you in a map in a second here. Each of those 3 holes hit between 208 meters up to over 250 meters. Very similar grades, 0.27 nickel equivalent in all of them. So we're very heartened that this style of alteration and resulting liberation of the nickel minerals into high-grade sulfides, it's going to persist. We don't own just a couple of these things. These bodies are outlined in purple here. Again, from magnetics, they stick out. They're very clearly resolved. And so we've drilled the 2 in the south where it says nickel discovery on the map. We've got another 28 of these things. We visited in the field. We were able to find outcrop on 10 of them, taking grab samples, and the average of all those grab samples is the same, 0.27% nickel equivalent. So In summary, we've got over 10,000 meters of drilling earmarked for our gold targets. We've got 30 nickel targets that we've only tested 2 of, and basically we're well positioned for both nickel and gold drilling, and our separate project is being advanced by Dryden Gold. So that's a bit of a snapshot of Manitou Gold, and I think there's some time for any questions if anybody has any.